Hello and welcome back to all our beautiful YouTube friends and wonderful subscribers. This is Stirring It Up with me, your host, Tierra Monique. Well, welcome back, and we just want to do nothing but spread love and let you know that we're homing in from the beautiful West Coast, City of Angels, reaching out from here to the wonderful East Coast, saying hi to all our friends, bringing up all hot topics, political news, trending topics. People say the darndest and do the darndest things. So sit down, grab a drink, grab a friend, and let's talk about it on the other side.
I do believe that we have the capacity to love people, but I don't trust you. So
Well, I mean, you can't. I mean, it's not rational to trust. First of all, you shouldn't trust white people, and by that I mean, as long as white people lead with whiteness, they can't be trusted because whiteness is the reason why, in a race-based society, you can't trust white people.
This is getting a lot of attention, and Ron Johnson, the Republican from Wisconsin, has been a frequent critic about some of the decision-making around security that was supposed to be at the Capitol on January 6th, and he's been very sympathetic to those in the crowd, especially Trump supporters who were there that day. In a new interview, he's really raising eyebrows. Here's what he had to say.
I knew those are people that love this country, that truly respect law enforcement, would never do anything to break a law. And so I wasn't concerned. Now, had the tables been turned, and Joe, this get me in trouble. Had the tables been turned and President Trump won the election, and those were tens of thousands of Black Lives Matter and Antifa protesters, I might have been a little concerned.
They should be here. They shouldn't have to be here.
As well as solidarity. A lot can be said by simply taking a knee. In New York, California, and Washington state, violent looting was met with sympathy. Americans helped Americans pick up the pieces. And then there were those who tried to stop things from falling apart in the first place. Protesters repelled looters in Santa Monica and again in Brooklyn. The protests in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a little water went a long way.
I know you guys out here doing your job. I'm not mad at you.
George Floyd's hometown of Houston, the police chief joined the calls for justice.
You know what? We built this country.
And in Flint, Michigan, a show of what can be achieved when the sheriff puts down his baton.
I took the helmet off and laid the batons down. I want to make this a parade, not a protest.
Meanwhile, days after George Floyd's death, 29-year-old Sean Dromgoole went for a walk in Nashville. 75 of his neighbors had his back.
My neighborhood is the best neighborhood.
Dromgoole had been paralyzed with fear, too afraid to walk his neighborhood. Over the years, it had become more expensive and more white. He was worried some of his neighbors would see him and call the police. He posted online, "The fear of not returning home to my family alive kept me on my front porch." His anxiety turned to astonishment, the parade of support that followed.
I love y'all. I can't wait to have y'all over for Tuesday.
In New York, a neighborhood hit hard by COVID-19 and heartache found joy in music. In Oakland, a different kind of protest movement. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., not far from the White House, proof we all need somebody to lean on. For today, Aaron McLaughlin, NBC News.
Or face consequences, or face their wrath. Here's some more footage. This is of an AP photographer being attacked. As he covered the riots, he gets shoved around the crowd as it descends on him. Eventually, he's pulled to safety by a cooler-headed Trump supporter. Luckily, or Lord knows what would have happened to him. We're also hearing firsthand accounts of the terror from other members of the press. Erin Schaff, staff photographer of the New York Times, writes that she was in the Capitol Rotunda when suddenly 2 or 3 men in black surrounded me and demanded to know who I worked for. Grabbing my press pass, they saw that my ID said the New York Times and became really angry. They threw me to the floor trying to take my cameras. I started screaming for help as loudly as I could. No one came. People just watched. At this point, I thought I could be killed, and no one would stop them. They ripped one of my cameras away from me, broke a lens on the other, and ran away. And then there are the deeply unsettling images of this guy in the Senate chamber, dressed in full tactical gear, carrying plastic zip ties. As Dan Coys writes for Slate, those are actually flex cuffs, the plastic double restraints often used by police in mass arrest situations.
Okay, Senator Ron Johnson said that he wasn't afraid. Well, I'm looking at somebody's shoes. They're on their knees. There's people at the door. They're obviously afraid. So, Mr. Johnson apparently wasn't afraid because he knew that the white nationalists that were there were on his side, and he didn't have anything to worry about. They weren't going to harm him. They were after the other guy.
But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. We love you. You're very special.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy also urged an end to the unrest.
This is not who we are. This is not who his supporters are. This is more than politics. This is the foundation of this nation. This is the democracy that we are supposed to be the torch for the rest of the world.
Earlier in the day, the president had urged supporters to march to the Capitol.
It is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing.
Are you kidding me?
This may be a lot of things, this moment we're living through, but it is definitely not about Black lives. And remember that when they come for you, and at this rate they will. We have every right to fight to preserve our nation and our heritage and our culture.
In the skull of the African here, the area associated with submissiveness is larger than any human or any other subhuman species on planet Earth.
And all this is on top of what we already know happened on January 6th. When rioters trapped this officer in a door, leaving him crying out in pain. They threw a fire extinguisher at a group of police. They tried to steal officers' weapons, yelling, quote, "kill him with his own gun," stole an officer's badge, and then buried it in the backyard after he was beaten. Discharged bear spray in the faces of multiple officers, including one officer who sustained scars under her eyes, and Officer Brian Sicknick, who later died. By the way, the rioters did those things while flying the thin blue line flags. Some of the rioters were even police officers themselves. We know at least 9 members of law enforcement were there and have been charged. And after all this, the House held a vote on a resolution yesterday to award congressional gold medals to the police who protected them on January 6th. That measure passed. But 12 Republicans voted against it. They voted against honoring the officers who saved their lives that day because they objected to certain language in the resolution, like the term insurrectionists.
All right, Love Bug, that wraps it up for this edition of Stirring It Up with me, Tierra Monique. What do you think about this edition of people saying do the darndest things? Let's label it that, yeah. Because the duplicity of it all is mind-boggling. Anyway, guys, we appreciate you, and we hope you appreciate us. And as a matter of fact, you do. We have some new Love Bugs. Veronica McIntyre, Star Pepper, Chastity Hen, Sea Baby. We just want to let you know we see you guys and we appreciate you. And welcome. To everyone else, please leave a comment, like, or subscribe. And until next time, and there will be a next time, take care.